Let's talk about mouth tape, shall we? Because it's a trending thing. A lot of people, a lot of influencers will be like, just put this on your freaking mouth and it'll solve all of your magical problems. And it becomes something where now we think it's a great idea to use for a disease, a condition for sleep apnea, where you have problem breathing. So let's put some tape on your mouth. Now, this is not going to be me just saying don't use mouth tape, okay? Maybe I was a little bit spicy in that intro, and that's absolutely fine because I'm just not going to re record another intro for you. We're just going to roll with this one. But the fact of the matter is, mouth tape is something that can actually be helpful for sleep in some scenarios. So I want to be able to go over the benefit risk profile for you so that you're able to make better decisions in your sleep, especially if you have sleep apnea. So let's go over these slides. Obviously, if you didn't know what I was talking about, here is tape on your mouth. I tempted with the idea of putting tape on my mouth and showing you, but I decided to have some self-respect today. Now, this is reportedly to be helpful with sleep. And I say reportedly because I'll talk about the available research in just a moment. But the idea is you put this, tape it on your mouth, and then you sleep better at night. There are good reasons behind this. For research, we'll get into that in a little bit. But the thinking is, if you force yourself to breathe through your nose, because as you can note from this diagram, or it's not really a diagram, it's a picture, and this is going to be revolutionary. Okay, what I'm about to say may win me a Nobel Prize in nothing, really. But if you can't breathe through your mouth, you're going to end up breathing through your nose, not your eyes or ears, as was thought about in 2022 as a very common thought people had. No one had that thought. But seriously, everyone, it's just something as simple as nasal breathing allows you to have better sleep. And there is a lot of pros and good stuff that happens when you're breathing through your nose. That's effectively what mouth taping forces is nose breathing. Okay? And when you do this, again, a lot of great benefits. You're going to have better air quality. And I'm not talking about in your room, right? The air you breathe in, because when you breathe through your nose, it goes through a natural filtering and dehumidification process. Well, I guess the humidity change depends on the ambient humidity, so it'll normalize the humidity. So if it's too dry, it'll make it more humid. If it is too humid, your nose will dehumidify. It's a balanced humidification system. But nonetheless, it brings in cleaner air that prevents your airways from being irritated. If you breathe through your mouth, you don't have that filter. Okay? You just breathe in all the particles that you could ever want. The other big part is nitric oxide. And this is actually one of the biggest benefits of nose breathing. That's why I'm going to go over a little exercise with you towards the end. But as you breathe through your nose, you trigger the release of this molecule called nitric oxide that leads to the widening of your blood vessels and your airways. Okay? Then that makes it easier for you to not only breathe through your nose, but also the rest of your airway. Okay, I'll say that again. Nose breathing makes nose breathing easier from nitric oxide. Nose breathing also makes breathing through the rest of your airway easier. Okay. Other big thing is that it will reduce anxiety and stress because when you're breathing through your nose, this will lead to a little bit of an increase or really a normalization in carbon dioxide levels. Carbon dioxide, it's a gas that you breathe out like I just did, and that actually will calm your nerves down. If you're breathing through your mouth all the time, you don't really retain any carbon dioxide, so you don't get that benefit from it. Now, fight allergies, we kind of already talked about that with getting the cleaner air, and then better sleep. The idea is if you're breathing better at night, you will sleep better. That's pretty much the very simple relationship because as you breathe better, if you can eliminate, especially if you have sleep apnea, if you can eliminate the times you're waking up and gasping for air, obviously that's going to help you sleep better. But the other thing that's going to help you sleep better is optimal oxygenation throughout your entire body. Okay, so if you breathe through your nose, the release of nitric oxide and increasing carbon dioxide levels just a little bit will actually help your body better oxygenate throughout. Because what did I obnoxiously say earlier about nitric oxide? It increases airway size, right? And also blood vessel. Okay, you can rewind. I totally said that on purpose, okay? For a reason. And when nitric oxide goes up, those tiny blood vessels called capillaries, they will expand, okay? And these are blood vessels. They're really, really tiny, and they go into all the nooks and crannies of your body. And by having more nitric oxide and more carbon dioxide, this will lead to those getting bigger and those blood vessels, and that will increase circulation throughout your entire body, which makes everything work better, including and especially in your brain, because your brain is responsible for how well you're sleeping at night. So if you have better circulation through your brain, you're going to have better sleep. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons to nasal breathe, but the thing is, it's not as simple as just doing this. Okay, there, I did it. I didn't use tape, but nonetheless, because I want to remind you, for sleep apnea specifically, because that's what I love to talk about at all times. Okay, from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, I'm talking about sleep apnea, whether it's with my cat or my wife. I'm talking about, hey, honey, what'd you think about those sleep studies? So, with this, and if this is your first time perhaps watching or listening, if you're cringing based off my humor, that's the appropriate response. Now, with this, sleep apnea happens because there's a faster or more forceful inhale. And then as a result, if you look over here, this will then lead to a suction effect. Okay, it'll kind of pull the rear of your tongue and some of these tissues, especially sort of the roof of your mouth, the back of your mouth there. It'll all come collapsing in because there's a vacuum force from your lungs. Okay, that's how sleep apnea works. And then as a result, your airway is blocked. Okay, so again, faster, more forceful inhale pulls your airways together, collapses them, and you can't breathe at night. That's not cool. Now, the reason we talk about mouth taping is because we look at normal breathing here. Okay, essentially, when you start to have a little bit of obstruction, okay, as you have here in the middle diagram and the bottom diagram, this will force you to recruit your mouth into the equation. So I want to be very clear on this. Going from nose breathing to mouth breathing, it's not just because you don't know how to close your mouth. Okay, you don't have weak lip muscles. It's from a inner drive in your lungs that then forces you to use your mouth to breathe. Okay, it's like if you were driving a car with manual transmission and you can only go so fast in third gear. Eventually, you have to move the stick shift around and go into fourth gear. Okay, and although I'm mechanically incompetent around most things around the house, I can indeed drive manual transmission. Back to sleep apnea. So when you start to breathe, you have a bigger drive to breathe, then you'll recruit your mouth. So the idea is, well, if we just shut off the mouth, because what was the really annoying thing I said before? A lot of things, right? But here was around nitric oxide, that through nasal breathing, you raise nitric oxide. So if you can just force nasal breathing, because good nasal breathing leads to good nasal breathing or better nasal breathing. So this is where mouth tape comes in, okay? Because if you are able to block off mouth breathing, then nose breathing should win the day. This works sometimes, but not all times, okay? Because this is the basic mechanism of mouth tape, okay? And yes, I'll get into specific things you want to look for if choosing and looking for an item. I don't have a specific brand in mind, just general recommendations because the brands will change. But this is a very important part to note, okay? Not nose versus mouth. It is breathing too much, and then that leading to you having to recruit your mouth to help things out. Okay, now, reason I was being a little cagey around mouth tape, not just because it's ridiculous and I can't give you my opinion right away, right? Is that when you look at the research, it helps out somewhat in already mild sleep apnea. So there's one study here, brought people from 8.3 to 4.7 events per hour. So that means nothing to you. You should know less than 5 is no sleep apnea. 5 to 15 is mild. 15 to 30 is moderate. 30 plus is severe. Most people I'm working with, they're in that moderate to severe range. But of course, you can have mild sleep apnea and still feel miserable every day. Nonetheless, mouth taping, slight reduction. Okay. Okay, not super exciting. And then another study done once again went from 12 to 7.8. Okay, not super shocking. This is not like life changing because if you were at a higher level, say if you were at 25, 25 to 20 is like going from bad to slightly less bad. Okay. So when we think about mouth taping, when you have like the worse your sleep apnea is, the worse of an idea it is. Because here's the other thing that these don't mention, and this isn't meant to be a scare tactic, it's just the reality. But statistically, get the exact statistics. I have to pull that up another time. But around 100 people per day in the United States die from something related to obstructive sleep apnea. Okay, about 100. Okay, most of that's from heart attacks. Strokes are going to be the most acute events, besides the one I'm about to mention. And then diabetes, cancer, and crashing cars. Okay, the other one that's really high and is about 20% of the daily death burden of obstructive sleep apnea is dying in your sleep of suffocation. So mouth tape needs to be very wisely used, and really, uh, I don't like. It's more appropriate the more mild things are. Okay, that's really the best we can. That's why I don't really recommend it often. Okay, it's okay if someone needs an extra push, or maybe someone they don't have sleep apnea, they just want to try to optimize their sleep, or maybe sometimes when we're helping someone get off of CPAP, or they're still having issues, because we do a lot of breathing exercises and other related things to make your breathing nice and steady at night. But sometimes mouth tape can be a nice bridge to better sleep, but it's this is not like a savior or messiah, if you will. Okay, so it's good to go from like if we were to think of high school grades for some reason, if you wanted to go from like a B plus to like an A minus, mouth tape would be great, but like it is not going to get you from a C to a B. Okay, it's just not here. Now, a lot of other things go along with mouth tape. There's red tape around mouth tape, and I'm now regretting I didn't make a slide that used that pun. But nonetheless, one of the things here is that mouth tape will actually cause you to purchase useless furniture from IKEA. Oh wait, no, it's about off-gassing and adhesives. That's what this slide is about. Okay, if you didn't think my jokes were bad before, you now know they're really bad. So here, when we think about mouth tape, it's an adhesive, right? And this is just a graphic I found on Google to represent how furniture, because they use a lot of adhesives to keep things together, like upholstery, etc. This will cause chemicals to off-gas, okay? Now, it's questionable whether off-gassing from certain furniture is a problem in many cases, okay? Say my desk is off-gassing. Well, okay, I'm here a lot, but if I wasn't, it wouldn't be an issue. But when something is off-gassing right where you're breathing for 8 to 10 hours, okay, or maybe 7 to 9, that's a problem. And especially when you already have some airway irritation, okay? Because when you have sleep apnea, guess what? If your airways get irritated, it makes everything much harder to breathe, and then you're back to breathing harder and causing more airway collapse because of that airway irritation. Remember the first time I used mouth tape, that's exactly what happened to me. Okay, I felt way worse the next morning, and then also like I felt like I had a sore throat. And I tried a bunch of different brands, which is why if you do choose to use mouth tape or not, you want to find something that really has a non-toxic or non-volatile adhesive. Okay, don't use duct tape, obviously, but something that is very non-toxic, no scent, very minimal. That's what you want to go for because if you irritate your airways, okay, it'll like counteract the effects, right? It'll counteract the nitric oxide or the carbon dioxide that was beneficial, but now you added in this irritant, so it kind of cancels out. That's why I don't really love that. The other thing, and this is more relevant for people who maybe you're currently using CPAP or have used it in the past, you start to develop this reflex at night. I mean, this is not in the literature, it's in my personal experience and the experience of our clients. If there's anything on your mouth and you use a CPAP and you're a ripper, okay, what that means is you're someone who often takes your CPAP off at night. You will then take your mouth tape off at night because your unconscious body at sleep just knows something's on my face. I don't like this. And then it'll take it off. So, not super reliable. Uh, But again, I think the biggest thing is this doesn't really fix the problem of sleep apnea. Because remember, this is from a fast inhale. If we just cover up the mouth, force the nose, it may not work. That's why I want to go over how to improve nasal breathing so you don't have to use mouth tape. Now, you still can, okay? You can do both of these. You can do whatever you want. Just as long as you do something from watching this video, we're still cool, okay? Because if you just watch this and you learn it, oh my God, cool, feather in my cap. I learned something today at school. Cool beans. But like, you don't like get better by just learning, okay? Sorry, you don't. You have to actually do stuff. Okay, because I get people who they watch a bunch of YouTube videos and their clients, and we have some modules, and people just like watch them like 20 times. I'm like, you just need to get into action, my friend. All right, here's the action. So, step number 1 is to grow out these very splendid, what would you call these, pigtails? I'm not sure. Step 2. So, what you're going to do, you're going to follow the instructions here. Okay. So, you're going to inhale through. So, whenever you're inhaling through a nostril, you close the other one. Okay. I'm going to be obnoxious with 2 hands. You can just do it with 1. But watch first, then we'll do it together. Close off the right. Inhale through the left. Okay. Close off the left. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close off the right. Open left. Exhale left. Okay. I'm just going to do it a bunch. Just watch. Inhale left. Close off. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close off. Exhale left. Okay. Let's do 1 round together here. Okay. And just doing this before you go to bed, because when you breathe like this, as I said earlier, that nasal breathing leads to better nasal breathing. If you force yourself to breathe through one nostril, this will trigger even more nitric oxide release. And when you press down like this, okay, this will also lead to the production of more nitric oxide. So let's do a cycle together. Close off the right. Inhale through the left. Close off left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close off right. Exhale. Inhale. And you just cycle through, okay? And that's what you want to do. You can do that for 5 to 10 minutes, ideally before you go to bed or while laying in bed, because that will help transition and help out, okay? So there you go. And here's a diagram I made. Maybe I'll explain this, maybe I won't, but I'll go ahead and explain it. This is the overall sort of method that we're always using to help people out. And nasal breathing is part of having softer breathing. Okay. There's more to it, right? Like diaphragm breathing, the rate at which you breathe. But nasal breathing is a really, really important first place for people to start. Okay. So that's just one piece of everything that we need to have optimal breathing at night to keep your airways open. Okay. And as we're wrapping up, because you can just do the nasal breathing and kind of ride off into the sunset. But also, for people who they want more help, they want to be able to get the guidance with us here and be able to work very closely so you can just, you know, you just get rid of all your nighttime breathing, sleep apnea problems. Obstructive sleep apnea. We have our free one-on-one evaluation call. It's at ochnow.com/talk. Once there, fill out a form, pick a time and date, and then we'll just call you then. All right. So happy nasal breathing, everyone, and I will see you soon.